In the vast expanse of the Andromeda sector, where starlight dies in the shadow of ancient alien empires, humanity stands as the newest and most underestimated species to stumble into the galactic arena. While other races measure worth in plasma cannons and quantum shields, humans possess something far more dangerous, an inexplicable ability to see beyond the surface, to find connection where others see only threat. Dr. Elena Vasquez never expected her xenobiology research expedition to the forbidden world of Kythera Prime would end with her whispering lullabies to a creature that could tear through titanium with its claws. She certainly never imagined that this single act of compassion would ignite a chain of events that would forever alter the balance of power in a galaxy that had written off humanity as insignificant. But sometimes the smallest gesture, a gentle touch, a soothing voice, a moment of understanding between species separated by millions of years of evolution, can shatter the foundations of an empire built on fear and domination. This is the story of how one human's whisper became a roar that echoed across the stars. The research vessel Terra Nova shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, its hull groaning under the stress of dimensional transition. Dr. Elena Vasquez gripped the observation deck railing, her knuckles white as she stared through the reinforced viewport at the alien world below. Kythera Prime hung in space like a jewel of amber and emerald, its 3 moons casting ethereal shadows across continents that had never known human footsteps. "Still can't believe they approved this mission," muttered Captain Harrison Chun, joining Elena at the viewport. His weathered face bore the lines of someone who had spent decades navigating the treacherous politics of interspecies relations. The Galactic Consortium specifically classified this world as off-limits. Elena adjusted her xenobiology scanner, its blue display casting an eerie glow across her determined features. "The Consortium classifies a lot of things as off-limits, Captain. That doesn't mean they're right." She turned to face him, her dark eyes blazing with scientific curiosity. "The energy readings we detected from this system suggest evolutionary patterns unlike anything we've encountered. If my theories are correct, the life forms on Kythera Prime could revolutionize our understanding of adaptive biology." Chun shook his head, his expression grim. "And if your theories are wrong, we'll all end up as footnotes in someone else's research paper. The kind written in obituaries." The bridge communicator crackled to life, interrupting their conversation. "Dr. Vasquez, to the bridge, please. We're picking up some unusual readings on the surface." Elena made her way through the ship's narrow corridors, past the sleeping quarters where her small research team rested in preparation for the surface mission. The Terra Nova was a modest vessel, designed for long-range scientific expeditions rather than military operations. Its crew of 12 included Elena, Captain Chun, 2 security officers, a communication specialist, an engineer, a medic, and 5 graduate students who had volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim looked up from the sensor station as Elena entered the bridge. Her fingers danced across holographic displays showing topographical maps and energy signatures. "Doctor, we're detecting massive electromagnetic disturbances in the Northern Hemisphere. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases." Elena leaned over the sensor array, studying the readouts with growing excitement. The electromagnetic signatures were organized, purposeful, clearly indicating advanced intelligence. "This is incredible. The energy patterns suggest not just sentient life, but a highly sophisticated civilization. A civilization that doesn't want visitors," Chen added grimly. "We've been scanning for 30 minutes, and already we're detecting movement in the upper atmosphere. Something's coming to investigate us." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a magnified view of Kythera Prime's surface. Through the swirling cloud cover, Elena could make out vast structures that seemed to flow organically across the landscape. Not built, but grown. Towers that spiraled like frozen tornadoes reached toward the sky, connected by bridges that pulsed with bioluminescent light. "My God," whispered Dr. James Reeves, Elena's senior research assistant, as he joined them on the bridge. It's like the planet itself is alive. Before anyone could respond, the ship's proximity alarms began blaring. On the view screen, shapes emerged from the planet's atmosphere, sleek, organic vessels that moved with predatory grace. They were unlike any spacecraft in the galactic databases, resembling massive flying creatures more than mechanical constructs. "Captain," Kim called out, her voice tight with tension. "We've got company. 3 vessels approaching fast. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Chun moved to his command chair, his hand hovering over the communications panel. "Open a channel. All frequencies." "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Harrison Chun of the Earth vessel Terra Nova. We come in peace on a scientific mission. Please respond." Silence filled the bridge, broken only by the steady beep of the proximity sensors. The alien vessels continued their approach, their movements synchronized with an almost musical precision. Elena watched the approaching ships with fascination rather than fear. There was something beautiful about their flight patterns, something that spoke of intelligence far beyond mere aggression. "Captain, look at their formation. They're not attacking, they're hurting us." "Hurting us where?" Chun demanded. His answer came as the Terra Nova's navigation system suddenly went offline. The ship shuddered and began descending toward the planet's surface, its trajectory controlled by some invisible force. "We're caught in some kind of tractor field," reported Engineer Martinez from his station. "But it's not mechanical. The energy signature is completely organic." Elena felt her heart racing as the ship descended through Kythera Prime's atmosphere. Through the view screen, the alien landscape grew larger and more detailed. She could see forests of trees that moved and swayed without wind, their crystalline leaves catching and refracting the light of the system's twin suns. Rivers of liquid that glowed with inner light carved paths through valleys filled with structures that seemed to breathe. The ship touched down in a clearing surrounded by towering trees whose bark appeared to be made of living metal. The impact was surprisingly gentle, as if the planet itself had cushioned their landing. "All systems are functional," Martinez reported. "But something's interfering with our communications array. We can't contact Earth or the nearest consortium outpost." Elena was already moving toward the equipment lockers. "I'm suiting up for surface reconnaissance." "Absolutely not," Chin said firmly. "We have no idea what's out there. The atmosphere readings are all over the place." "The atmospheric composition is within human tolerance," Elena argued, pulling on her environmental suit. "Elevated oxygen levels, trace amounts of unknown compounds, but nothing immediately toxic. This is exactly the kind of opportunity we came here for." Before Chun could object further, the ship's external cameras detected movement outside. The view screen showed figures emerging from the forest, tall, graceful beings that moved with fluid elegance. They appeared humanoid, but elongated, with skin that seemed to shift color like oil on water. Most striking were their faces, which bore features both beautiful and alien, with large, multifaceted eyes that reflected light like prisms. "First contact protocol," Chun ordered quietly. "Everyone stays calm. Kim, keep scanning. Martinez, be ready to lift off at a moment's notice." Elena moved to the airlock, her scientific instruments secured to her suit. "I'm going out there." "Doctor, I must advise against..." "Captain, I didn't come halfway across the galaxy to watch first contact through a view screen. We have a chance to make history here." The airlock cycled open, and Elena stepped onto the surface of Kythera Prime. The first thing that struck her was the sound, a low, harmonious humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The very air vibrated with music, as if the planet itself was singing. The alien beings approached slowly, their movements deliberate and non-threatening. Elena raised her hands in the universal gesture of peace, noting how the being's skin color shifted from deep purple to warm gold as they drew closer. The apparent leader of the group stepped forward. When it spoke, Elena was surprised to hear words in her own language, though they carried an unusual melodic quality. "Human creature from distant star songs," the being said, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. You bring metal shell ship to sacred ground of the Zephyrians. Why do you break the silence of our world? Elena's heart hammered with excitement. They were using some form of universal translator, or perhaps had been monitoring human communications. Yam de Elena Vasquez. We come seeking knowledge, hoping to learn about your world and your people. We mean no harm. The being's eyes shifted through a spectrum of colors Elena had never seen before. Knowledge hunger is understood, but your species brings chaos wherever it spreads among the star paths. The Council of Worlds speaks of humans as destroyers of harmony. The Council doesn't know us as well as they think, Elena replied carefully. We're not all destroyers. Some of us are builders, healers, learners. Before the being could respond, a sound erupted from the forest that made Elena's blood run cold. It was a roar of pain and terror, the cry of something in mortal agony. The Zephyrian leader's skin flashed brilliant red, and all the beings turned toward the source of the sound. Blood scream of a young one, the leader said, its voice filled with anguish. The shadow hunters have found another of our cubs. Without hesitation, Elena started running toward the sound. Behind her, she heard Captain Chin's voice crackling through her suit's communicator, ordering her to return to the ship, but she ignored him. The cries were growing weaker, more desperate. She burst through a grove of singing trees into a clearing where a horrific scene unfolded before her. A small Zephyrian, no larger than a human child, lay bleeding on the ground while three massive creatures circled it like vultures. These beasts were nothing like the graceful Zephyrians. They were all teeth and claws and malevolent hunger, their hide black as space and their eyes burning with red fire. The shadow hunters, as the Zephyrian had called them, turned at Elena's approach. Their roars shook the very ground beneath her feet. Elena had no weapons, no way to fight creatures that looked like they could tear through her environmental suit like tissue paper. But the cub's cries grew weaker with each passing moment, and she could see the light fading from its prismatic eyes. She did the only thing she could think of. Elena knelt beside the dying cub and began to sing. It was a lullaby her grandmother had taught her, a simple Mexican folk song about a little bird learning to fly. Her voice was soft, barely audible above the shadow hunter's snarls, but something extraordinary happened. The cub's eyes focused on her, and its panicked breathing began to slow. The shadow hunters hesitated, confused by this small human who showed no fear, who offered no violence, only gentle melody. Elena kept singing, stroking the cub's iridescent fur with hands that trembled despite her efforts to remain calm. The adult Zephyrians arrived like a force of nature, their bodies blazing with brilliant light as they drove off the shadow hunters with focused beams of energy. But their attention quickly turned to Elena, kneeling beside their young one, her voice weaving a cocoon of comfort around the injured cub. "Why does the strange song human tend to our offspring?" demanded one of the Zephyrians. Elena looked up, tears in her eyes. "Because it's hurt. Because no child should die alone and afraid, no matter what species they are." The cub in her arms had stopped bleeding, its wounds mysteriously sealing themselves as she sang. Its eyes were brighter now, focused on her face with what could only be described as trust. The leader of the Zephyrians approached slowly, its skin cycling through colors Elena was beginning to recognize as expressions of deep emotion. The healing song of the human reaches into the life force itself. Such a gift we have not seen in 10,000 star cycles. Elena carefully lifted the cub, surprised by how light it felt. Its fur was soft as silk and warm as sunlight. "I don't understand. I was just singing. I don't have any healing powers." "Power comes in many forms," the leader replied. "Your species may destroy with great efficiency, but you also possess the rarest gift in the galaxy, the ability to heal through pure compassion. The shadow hunters flee not from your strength, but from the brightness of your soul song." As Elena stood, cradling the now sleeping cub, she felt the weight of first contact settling on her shoulders. This was bigger than scientific discovery, bigger than adding another species to the galactic community. This was about bridging a gap that had existed for millennia, showing that humanity could be more than the galaxy believed. "What are your names?" she asked softly. "I am called Resonance of Morning Stars," the leader replied. "This cub you have saved is Whisper of Growing Light, offspring of my heart bond mate. You have given us a debt that can never be fully repaid." "I don't want repayment," Elena said. "I just want understanding. Between our people." Resonance of Morning Stars studied her for a long moment, its eyes shifting through the entire spectrum of visible light and beyond. "Perhaps it is time for the Pack of Zephyr to learn new songs. Perhaps the Council of Worlds speaks from ignorance rather than wisdom." As they walked back toward the Terra Nova, Elena carrying the cub, while the Zephyrians formed a protective circle around them, she realized that everything had changed. The music of the planet seemed different now, richer and more complex, as if new harmonies were being added to an ancient symphony. Captain Chin met them at the ship's ramp, his hand on a sidearm, but his expression one of awe rather than fear. "Doctor, what happened out there?" "First contact," Elena replied simply, "and maybe the beginning of something beautiful." The cub stirred in her arms, opening its prismatic eyes to gaze up at her. When it spoke, its voice was like the tinkling of crystal bells. "Song Mother," it whispered in perfect English. "Teach me more music of the far stars." Elena felt tears streaming down her face as she realized the magnitude of what had just occurred. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were capable of something no other species had achieved in recorded history, earning the trust and friendship of the Zephyrian pack through nothing more than compassion and a simple lullaby. But as she looked into the cub's trusting eyes, Elena also sensed that this was only the beginning. The Shadow Hunters had not appeared by accident, and the Council of Worlds would not appreciate having their carefully maintained balance of power disrupted by an upstart species that refused to know its place. The music of Kythera Prime swelled around them as the twin suns set behind the singing forest, and Elena knew that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The great hall of the Zephyrian pack stretched before Elena like a cathedral made of living light. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that responded to the emotions of those within, creating an ever-changing tapestry of color and movement. She had been on Kythera Prime for 3 days now, and the beauty of this world still took her breath away. Whisper of Growing Light, the cub she had saved, rarely left her side. The young Zephyrian had appointed itself her constant companion, chattering excitedly in its crystalline voice about everything from the migration patterns of cloudfish to the mathematical principles underlying the planet's harmonic resonance fields. "Song Mother Elena," Whisper said, tugging at her environmental suit with small, delicate claws. "The Pack Mothers wish to speak with you in the Chamber of Deep Harmonies." Elena looked up from her portable laboratory, where she had been analyzing samples of Zephyrian biotechnology. Every discovery on this world challenged everything she thought she knew about the possibilities of biological engineering. The Zephyrians didn't build their technology. They grew it, singing specific harmonies that encouraged certain molecular structures to form and evolve. "What do they want to discuss?" Elena asked, though she suspected she already knew. Whisper's fur shifted to a worried shade of deep blue. The long-distance voices have been carrying dark songs from the void between stars. "The Council of Worlds grows angry about your presence here." Elena sighed and saved her research data. For 3 days, she had been living in a paradise of scientific discovery, working alongside beings who viewed the universe as a vast symphony waiting to be understood and improved. But she had known this bubble of peace couldn't last forever. Captain Chin approached, his expression grim. "Doctor, I've been monitoring the long-range communications. We've got multiple consortium ships heading this way, including at least one Vorthan dreadnought." The name sent a chill down Elena's spine. The Vorthans were the Council of Worlds Enforcers, a warrior race that brooked no deviation from the established galactic order. Their ships were floating fortresses capable of cracking planets open like eggs. How long do we have? Elena asked. 48 hours, maybe less.